Second.
The motion's been made and second. All those in favor of approving the agenda say aye.
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 Agenda is approved. Next up, consent agenda. You all received the minutes, the work update, and financial report to date. Eldon, do you have any comment on that?
No, I'm happy to answer any questions. The activity level is a little lower than we'd expected in a normal year, but for obvious reasons. So the finances are a little better than they would normally be at this point in terms of expenditures, and the work activity is a little lower than you would normally expect.
Any questions or corrections needed for anything? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion and a second for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion is carried. Next up, public comment. Is there anybody who would like to be recognized from the public who would like to make public comment to the commission today? Eldon, has there anybody on your end?
No, we've had no notifications of public comment.
With no one requesting for public comment, I'm going to close the public comment period. Let's move on to item number 4. We know we've been in a special session, so we would try to hear from any of the legislative members who are present for anything that's gone on, perhaps during that special session that may be directly affecting the Rappahannock River or the things that the Rappahannock River Basin Commission is working on. Any members from the legislative chamber want to kind of give an update of their feeling of how things are going?
This is Emmett. I can make a couple comments. We have not gotten very far with the budget yet. We are hoping later this week, later being tomorrow and Friday, to get the Senate budget in shape. Whether we pass it this week or probably next week before we actually formally pass the Senate budget. One thing from the standpoint of our the rivers and waters in the Chesapeake Bay cleanup, the governor has taken his turn as chair of the executive council for the Chesapeake Bay Commission this year. So I guess that was one of the reasons he was fairly kind to us, recognizing the need to keep monies out there for some of our projects. So when funds were unallotted, he actually has put back some of that already. So we're looking at some other possibilities to make sure that that we have an adequate amount of funding there, particularly for the first year.
Thank you, Mr. Senator Henger. Anyone else from the legislative body would like to make a comment? Alrighty, it's been an active session. Then we'll move on to our first report. Thank you all, members of the legislative body. I know it's hard work up there this summer, and so keep your spirits up. Eldon, number 5, livestock stream exclusion projects.
Now there I go trying to talk while I'm on mute. David Massey with Culpeper Soil and Water, he's a conservation specialist, is with us to really give us an update over the last decade of stream exclusion. I'm going to turn it over to David. David, I'm going to share my screen with the slide that you had sent me. Just tell me when you want me to put that up.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Welcome, Mr. Massey.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. So we're going to have go do an overview of the district and some brief information on what we do, and then we'll give you some background on the past 10 years of livestock exclusion in the Culpeper district, and then I'll have Eldon put that slide up, and then we can kind of talk through that. And then we're going to talk about our strategies and our outreach and how we got to where we are. So the Culpeper district is made up of 5 counties. Culpeper, Greene, Madison, Orange, Rappahannock, and we cover approximately 46% of the entire Rappahannock River watershed. We're also at the headwaters of two other major tributaries in Virginia, being the York and the James. And the Soil and Water District was founded in 1939, and we have roughly 117,000 constituents in our 5 counties. So background on the livestock stream exclusion program. So it's been determined that this is a cost-effective method of preventing sediment and nutrients from entering the Chesapeake Bay and its tributaries. Virginia has felt pressure from the Environmental Protection Agency to expand its programs for helping farmers achieve this goal. So in late 2012, former Governor Bob McDonald announced that districts would be able to fund stream exclusion practices that install a 35-foot buffer on streams to be eligible for 100% project reimbursement up to the individual caps or allowances that the districts have for certain projects. So this is basically a program that pays for fencing to prevent livestock from drinking and accessing these riparian areas. It also helps pay for the water troughs, also known as alternative water, and then stream crossings and other various components to make the project functional and work for the farmer. So then in January of 2013, the cost share rate was raised for the first time from 75%, which is what it was for several years, and the Department of Conservation and Recreation came up with the other 25% to bring projects up to the 100% level. So that was for the first 6 months of 2013. And then in July of 2013 through June of 2015, so that's 24 months, is what we call the 100% era. And that's when it was statewide 100% cost share to fund these projects. Within that 2-year span, our district approved 192 projects that received funding. What this doesn't include is all the field visits that we made to producers who either never signed up or thought it was cost prohibitive, or they had other reasons for not, moving forward with the program. So my estimate is that we probably had somewhere around 400 field visits to get to that 192. Fast forward in a couple years to 2018, there was it's called the Technical Advisory Committee, and that was formed by the Department of Conservation and Recreation, and they basically had a more or less a stakeholders meeting that included some of the private sector, certainly district staff and the Department of Conservation and Recreation staff, and the goal was to provide flexibility for the programs that we offer to producers, kind of revise some of the rules and streamline everything to make it more efficient and flexible. So on the stream exclusion side of the practices that we have, they came up with several new options for footage, meaning setback from the stream or creek water body to the fence. So that created flexibility, and that's what we had been hearing from producers over the years, is that they needed more flexibility because not every farm is the same, and lay of the land, there's a whole lot of other considerations that need to be taken in. There was also buffer payments added, so the land that is now part of the riparian buffer, there's certain payments for producers to incentivize the program. And those programs took effect for program year 2020. And you can see that on the graph. And Eldon, if you can now put that up, that would be great.
It is up.
All right. So this is the graph that we put together with about 10 years of the past decade of data for our 5 counties and what we've got done here at the district level. On the x-axis, we go up to 300. Now there's an exception, and that's going to be the buffer acres in year 2015, and that actually goes up to 771, but for the sake of getting our scale, it caps out at 300. And the that will be the x-axis is the years, and we have 3 units of accomplishment here. So in the blue is the total number of projects that were signed up, completed, and paid. The red is the miles of stream bank that were protected with the stream exclusion fencing. And then the green is the acres of buffer that were created where there was previously no buffer and the livestock had access to those areas. So the one thing that we don't have on this chart is the funding, but for the sake of simplicity, the level of accomplishment per year is directly correlated to the total funds that we received for the Best Management Practices program. The producers know when we were well funded, and they tended to be more willing to sign up for projects during those times. The 13, well, I guess half of 13, all of 2014 and 2015 were when it was 100% cost share. And you can see definitely an upward trend starting in 2012-13, particularly for the amount of buffer that was created, but as well as how many miles of stream bank were protected through this program. It also shows that the voluntary approach is working, and the producers tended to respond when the incentives were there and there was program flexibility. 2016, 17, 18, and 19 was what appears to be a slump on the amount of workload getting done. One other important thing to note is that the 2014 and 15 projects are still being completed. So we still had that workload spread over multiple other years. So just because it's showing that not as many projects were being completed, those projects in 14 and 15 were in the next 4 or 5 years, just because it took so long for everybody to get finished. Projects ranged from less than 10 acres up to over 600 acres. We had one farm that was almost 1,000 acres that got fenced. So it doesn't really show the size of the projects, and it's difficult to relate the total number of projects to how much stream bank and how many buffers were created because of the varying sizes. But the miles of stream bank and the buffer, there's a direct correlation there, because the more linear feet of stream bank you protect, the more buffer you're going to gain. And then the 2020 on the far right, that is when the those changes were made to make the stream exclusion fencing program more flexible, and they added the buffer payment. So you can see a huge, at least spike in the number of buffers, buffer acreage that was created due to those payments that incentivized the buffer payment. So how did we get here? How did we have this much success? We took an aggressive approach and went to great lengths to promote the livestock stream exclusion program, particularly when the newly incentivized cost share rates came about. We sent around 4,500 letters to all the folks in our district that pay land use taxes. So we knew if you own land and paid land use taxes, you were going to get a letter in your mailbox explaining all the new program options, and just making sure everybody was aware of what those opportunities were. We also partnered with our 5 county farm bureaus to inform their membership through mailings. We attended their meetings in each of the 5 counties to make sure the farm bureau constituents knew of these opportunities. We also worked with the Natural Resource Conservation Service, which is our federal partner, Virginia Cooperative Extension, the Farm Service Agency, the Department of Forestry, and various other nonprofits to spread the word. We also had newspaper articles, radio advertisements, our quarterly distributed district newsletter, email lists, word of mouth, attendance at different ag-related field days and other events. And that was very valuable for us to market the program. And the goal was to make sure that everybody that would possibly be eligible was aware of the programs, and then if they wanted to participate, then they could contact us and we would set up a meeting. One thing that this chart does not display or show is any of the work that any of our federal partners got done or anything that was done voluntarily through a producer outside of the cost share program. The other thing I wanted to mention was in January of this year, there was Senate Bill 704 and House Bill 1422, which were proposing cattle exclusion mandated on all perennial streams by July 1st of 2026. We have and we continue to get phone calls about this from producers, and I think that definitely had some people, come visit us and have us come visit their farm to take a look. And I think it was, I don't want to say it scared producers, but I think it was concerning to a lot of producers. And so that's given some more interest to some people that we haven't been able to reach out to so far. But the take-home message that we're trying to show is that the voluntary approach is working. We were and continue to have a strong relationship with our producers, and we feel like they've answered the call to help clean up the Chesapeake Bay. So in closing, the stream exclusion program has opened many different opportunities to engage with producers within the traditional agriculture community here in our district. And it's also led to producers adopting other practices such as rotational grazing and pasture management. So it's really been able to get people in the door and get on some farms and really have a lot of progress in cleaning up local waterways as well as the Chesapeake Bay. So thank you for your attention, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.
Any questions from anyone?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is Jim White. I'd like to ask a question for Mike.
Go ahead, Jim.
Do you have any implementation guidelines or anything in terms of the new requirement for stream fencing based on the new newly passed legislation? Is that anything come down yet in terms of how to deal with that, how to communicate it, and the like?
In terms of us with our producers?
Yes.
Not really. I think people are aware, and we've sent at least the language that are in the bills to multiple people to let them read it for themselves, because I think there's a lot of misinformation that was going around. And so we had people read it for themselves, and then they could make decisions on how they wanted to proceed on their farm. But we have not gotten any guidance on anything in terms of what we should tell producers. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, I mean, I get inquiries myself from constituents that have seen the language, or at least heard about the language, and they're asking the "what does this mean" kind of questions, and I also don't have answers for them at this point. So
right.
I guess the follow-up question is there a plan that at some point either discussions will be held or podcast or information programs or something? I mean, right now I think people are just sort of at a loss for what it means. What do I do, and these kind of things. So.
Right. I would think that we would get some guidance as things evolve, and we hope that it stays a voluntary program, because we think we've made a lot of good progress and can still continue to do that. But I would think that as more information came along, it would be distributed to the districts to get out to their producers, or through other avenues such as Farm Bureau or Virginia Agribusiness Council.
Eldon, could I offer some additional information?
Of course.
This is Adrienne Catula from the Chesapeake Bay Commission, and I apologize. I was thinking about Senator Emmett Hanger, who worked very heavily on the legislation with me. Part of the legislation set up a work group to look at these specific issues that you're asking about right now. And so the work group actually just had its first meeting last month. We started talking about different incentives that could be built into the cost share program, perhaps for small farms that haven't been able to take advantage of the programs in the past because of their personal budgets. I myself sit on the work group, as well as 2 legislators from the Chesapeake Bay Commission. Martha Moore from the Farm Bureau, who I know is also on this call, also sits on the work group. We just had to send in our questions to the governor's office, who is running the group, and hopefully we'll have more information once special session is over and we're able to have another meeting.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you. We'll move on to the next item, Rappahannock River Roundtable update. Brian Hoffman.
Brian, and you should be able to share your screen. I've enabled you.
I'm going to give that a try. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, thank you for having me. Again, my name is Brian Hoffman. I'm the Deputy Director with Friends of the Rappahannock, and also the coordinator for the Rappahannock River Roundtable. So I'm going to get this up and running. All right. Today, we've been asked from a previous technical advisory committee and a previous commission meeting to go over the Rappahannock River Steward program hosted by Friends of the Rappahannock. So without further ado, just Friends of the Rappahannock is an environmental nonprofit organization based in Fredericksburg, Virginia, founded in 1985. But we do have offices in Culpeper, Virginia and Tappahannock, Virginia, to serve the 18 counties and multiple towns of the Rappahannock watershed. Our organization primarily focuses on 3 main programs: advocacy, restoration, and education. These take place at local boards and commissions, Board of Supervisors, the State General Assembly, and with state agency personnel, and up in Washington, D.C. with our federal legislators. Our restoration work spans a broad suite of programs and projects. Right now, we're primarily focused on best management practices that are addressed in the Phase 3 watershed implementation plans that were put together by the 7 soil and water districts and 4 planning districts that serve the Rappahannock River watershed. And our education programs focus K through 12, field trips, in-class presentations and lessons, although not right now due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We're also creating a great deal of digital content and self-guided educational resources right now. And we do maintain multiple full-time education staff that are available throughout the watershed to over 200 schools, as well as universities and community groups. So the roundtable, very briefly, is a partnership of stakeholders. Many people on this call are a part of the roundtable listserv and participate in various aspects of the roundtable's work. It's focused land and water conservation, community outreach and education, and probably most importantly, capacity building and sharing of lessons learned and resources to kind of have the rising tide raise all boats, so to speak. There's over 130 folks that participate in some shape or form. And we're really hoping that as we all increase capacity, that the Rappahannock River and the watershed is the primary beneficiary. So the concept of the roundtable first and foremost comes from a Department of Environmental Quality program that in this region is administered by Dave Evans, who's on the call. And this was designed to facilitate stakeholder engagement, a variety of planning efforts and other tasks identified by stakeholders throughout the watershed. We constantly seek out guidance and recommendations from this body and the Technical Advisory Committee of the River Basin Commission on priorities that the stakeholders and elected officials would like to see the roundtable bring back or take on as workload or scope of work. We've been invested heavily in continuing to identify new stakeholders and bring them into the fold, offer them resources and information, and really focus heavily on implementing the programmatic and on-the-ground best management practices of the Phase 3 WIP and local total maximum daily loads, which address impairments in our streams, rivers, creeks, etc. Here is a map that delineates kind of the three regions of the Rappahannock River watershed, which our next couple slides will focus on how and why we've located offices and personnel and strategic resources here. And we're going to introduce you to the staff that support the roundtable, but also all of the localities, partner agencies, soil and water districts, PDCs that serve the Rappahannock River region. In our middle and headquarters office, Adam Lynch and Brent Hunsinger serve the city of Fredericksburg, Stafford County, Spotsylvania, King George, and Caroline County. They've both been with Friends of the Rappahannock for multiple years and live and work in these regions here and participate on many local boards, commissions, and work closely with a lot of county staff in those areas. And just go figure, during COVID-19, we're able to open a new office and hire 2 new staff to expand the reach and impact of the work of Friends of the Rappahannock and the Roundtable, serving Fauquier, Culpeper, and Rappahannock counties by October Greenfield, based in Culpeper, and Ann Self, our lower Rappahannock River steward, who's based in Tappahannock, Virginia, serving Westmoreland, Richmond, Lancaster, Essex, and Middlesex counties. And there's me, the Deputy Director with Friends of the Rappahannock, and I oversee the river stewards and coordinate the Roundtable partnership. The Roundtable, these river stewards, and a great deal of the work that we're helping to facilitate or support comes from a really broad and diverse set of funding resources. This is just an overview of some of the resources that have been very supportive and we rely on the last couple years while the Roundtable was getting its legs underneath it. Anything from a $5,000 grant to help put up interpretive signage at a park along Mountain Run in Culpeper, to a $250,000 grant to plant 50,000 trees throughout the 18 counties over 1 year's time, to an $810,000 grant matched by $1 million from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, which receives the bulk of its funding from the Environmental Protection Agency via the Chesapeake Bay program. Not only is Friends of the Rappahannock actively seeking these grants, we're working on behalf of Roundtable partners like planning districts, county governments, other nonprofits to use the capacity and shared resources of a broad partnership to leverage more grant dollars to support their work and their projects, which ultimately trickle down to have an impact on the Rappahannock River, the communities that are in the watershed, and the Chesapeake Bay itself. One of these resources is the Chesapeake Bay Restoration Fund. If you are on the River Basin Commission, live, work, play in the Rappahannock watershed or Chesapeake Bay, I encourage you to consider this license plate, which donates or which allocates funds to the Chesapeake Bay Restoration Fund. And over the past couple years, we've seen local elementary schools, nonprofits, town governments, county governments, and large multi-state nonprofits all benefit from this grant program. And more license plates we get people signed up for, the more money goes right back into the communities that we all serve. So our river stewards, we try and listen to what the communities we serve want and need in a partner, and we try and address those with making sure we have the requisite skills to be able to best serve the communities. So we are certified tree stewards. We're trained in erosion and sediment control. We go through boat and paddle safety courses and other educational certifications to be able to best serve the teachers in schools, the local planning and zoning staff, educate the supervisors as needed and requested, and facilitate any number of other different programs and activities that may be of interest or requested of our local partners. Services that are available from our river stewards and the Roundtable Partnership as a whole. I'm not going to read all of these, but we, like I said, we have provided grant writing assistance. We have in-house GIS or geotechnical mapping capabilities that are available for smaller groups or folks that may need that. We assist soil and water districts and planning districts with project development, planning, grant writing, and we're working with towns and counties on developing new public access to the rivers, and can take on a number of different programs and tasks as requested by the members of this commission as well as local government staff. Some programs that our river stewards run internally at Friends of the Rappahannock. We offer a very broad-reaching river cleanup and community park cleanup program. If your community or neighborhood has an area that's constantly plagued by litter and debris, let us know. We can help with materials and resources planning, and our staff to come out and address those issues. In multiple local papers and other media outlets, we're doing a very large tree giveaway program in partnership with the Department of Forestry, multiple planning districts, the Arbor Day Foundation, and really trying to increase urban forest canopy throughout the watershed. There's education programs. We're helping to develop a living shoreline cost share program. We've been developing oyster reef restoration projects with the Restore Urbana Creek Partnership and a myriad of local watermen and businesses in the lower Rappahannock. And there's a great deal of other work that our river stewards would be happy to go into more detail at the Technical Advisory Committee or any number of follow-up meetings at your request. I mentioned the community tree giveaways. I'll just take a moment and highlight this because so many folks throughout the 18 counties have been instrumental in helping get these opportunities off the ground for the communities that they serve. We're hoping to give away over 7,000 native trees this fall alone. That comes on top of around 6,500 free trees given away in communities across the watershed this past spring, all working towards chipping away at those goals outlined in the local watershed implementation plans. If you don't see your community on this list, we would love to work with you in the spring of 2021 to offer a community tree giveaway or any number of different ways to get more urban trees planted in your community centers, your Main Street corridors, or other types of tree planting projects on schools and other public lands. Finally, just a couple upcoming events and opportunities that our river stewards are hosting throughout the region. After some very strenuous development, we've opened up our 17-acre nature preserve in Fredericksburg, right on the Rappahannock, to a series of environmental education field trips that have a lot of safety and social distance protocols in them, but it's an excellent way for parents to get their kids engaged in an outdoor classroom type situation. Homeschool students and other community groups are able to sign up for that and participate in those. We're really excited to launch those. We have multiple guided paddle tours that are being led by our river stewards. We have some upcoming in Spotsylvania County, Fredericksburg, and down in Richmond County. We just had one in Culpeper County that sold out and was a great opportunity. And then we're teaming up with the Department of Conservation and Recreation for a film showing of our documentary, Rappahannock. And also we're going to be doing a preview screening with a local outfitter and Patagonia to launch one of their new films highlighting the importance of public lands. That date is TBD, but I will be sure to send around an update once we have more on that. And again, if you have an idea of a program or a project you'd like to see Friends of the Rappahannock or one of a different regional partner put together in your community, please let one of us know. And at this time, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman, and Eldon.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions? All right. Well, thank you for that update, Brian.
Thank you.
Next up, number 7, update on the Lower Rappahannock Scenic River designation. Hyla Boyd and Prue Davis.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our next speaker, if that's all right.
Go ahead.
So Hyla Boyd is joining us from Essex County today, I believe. She's the founder of Scenic Virginia and a current board member of the Essex County Conservation Association. She's served on the board of the Virginia Conservation Network, the Garden Club of Virginia, and the Garden Club of America, as well as the advisory board of the Northern Neck Land Conservancy. And she grew up on a farm in Essex County, has a lifelong interest in conservation, and is excited to give an update today on a campaign to designate the Lower Rappahannock as a scenic river through the Department of Conservation and Recreation program.
Ms. Boyd, welcome to the commission. We're looking forward to hearing your presentation today, and just thank you for heading this up. This has been a goal of mine for quite a while to get this designation here and like for the lower part, including Lancaster County. So I'm looking forward to hearing your presentation today.
Well, thank you, and good afternoon. Yeah, I grew up in Essex and on a farm in the western part of the county, but I spent many, many happy hours on the Rappahannock. Friends of the Rappahannock and Scenic Virginia, plus the Essex County Conservation Alliance, banded together this past May to jointly propose designating the Lower Rappahannock River as a Virginia scenic river. This is the 50th anniversary year of the program. Our 3 organizations decided it was time, if not past time, to recognize the entire Rappahannock River with a state scenic river designation. The portion of the river west of Fredericksburg was given the state designation in a series of steps starting in 1985. The tidal portion is equally worthy in our view. It possesses all the natural, scenic, recreational, historical, and cultural features that qualify a river for the designation. Working together, our 3 organizations have secured the support of 8 of the 9 counties that border the Lower Rappahannock. Also, the city of Fredericksburg and the towns of Port Royal and Tappahannock. Middlesex postponed the Board of Supervisors vote earlier this month to ask the county attorney to look further into the proposal. But we hope to secure Middlesex's vote at its next meeting. The 8 counties are Spotsylvania, Stafford, Caroline, King George, Westmoreland, Essex, Richmond, and Lancaster. In addition to our 3 organizations proposing the river designation, we have the support of over 20 other organizations, including the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, the Chesapeake Conservancy, the Rappahannock River Travel Center, the 3 Garden Club of Virginia member clubs that border the river, the Northern Neck Land Conservancy, Belle Isle State Park, plus others I won't list here in the interest of time. There's still other groups and organizations we're in the process of contacting, and we feel fortunate we've gotten a lot of initial support. What all these groups have in common is that we agree the Rappahannock is one of the greatest assets in our area, if not the greatest. It's not just important for the ecological and scenic value. It's a key to ecotourism and a stimulus to the economy of the counties along its banks. Scenic river status would allow these bordering counties to step up marketing, to promote recreational opportunities, to showcase the bounty the river produces, and highlight the area's history and culture. It has the potential to supply much needed revenue without increasing the financial burdens on the county's school systems and social service programs. Once designated, it can become a source of pride. Scenic Virginia status brands the area and can help protect, even increase property values. Now, you may have concerns about whether the scenic river designation limits the powers and authority of county governments. By Virginia code, the program has only one regulation, and that is that dams cannot be built on a designated river without the approval of the General Assembly. A fun fact I read recently, the Rappahannock River is the longest free-flowing river east of the Mississippi. It's also important to know that the state cannot exercise the right of eminent domain to acquire any real property or interest for the purpose of providing additional access to any scenic river. With the 8 counties' approval, the next step is to have a delegation from the Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation tour the lower Rappahannock to see if it merits state scenic river status. And plans for that are now underway. After the evaluation, the final step will be for the counties bordering the lower Rappahannock to make a request of their state legislators, those of you here, to sponsor a bill in the 2021 General Assembly for scenic river designation. Should the bill pass both houses, the process will be complete. We hope you see the merit in our presentation, in our proposal, and we hope you will support us. Thank you for your time and consideration. If you have questions, both Brian and I think will be happy to answer them.
Any questions from members? Eldon, would it help any support to this if the commission passed a resolution or support this anyway?
It's certainly up to the members of the commission if you want to do that. That's certainly within your purview.
I think it would be good to get the commission to pass a vote to get behind this effort. So I'm going to go ahead and support a motion to back the designation of the lower Rappahannock Scenic River designation. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion from members? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
No one's opposed. The motion carries unanimous. Thank you for your presentation, and I hope we can continue to move this ball forward.
Well, thank you.
That's the end of our presentations for today. Next up on future meeting dates. Generally in the last few years, we've tried to convene it at a central location. We moved away from the Capitol. We've been meeting at the Meadow Event Park. I would like to still try to get back to in-person meetings. So unless there's some major objection from everybody, and I would like us to tentatively plan for an in-person meeting at the Meadow Event Park, following all safety protocols at the time. But again, have a backup plan that if things start going bad in the state or in the wrong direction as we head into that, that we can kind of have a plan B.
Mr. Chairman, the folks at Meadow Event Park have us penciled in on that date since it's become our kind of traditional December meeting site since Supervisor Henson led the revolt to get away from meeting at the state capitol about 4 years ago. And what we will need to do is move to a different room. Obviously, the room we've met in the past will not meet the requirements that we face today, but they do have other space. And so I will
have that sort of kind of like outdoory kind of space. It's kind of larger, that building kind of next to it where they set up things for the fair.
Yes, sir. That is exactly the structure I was thinking of, and I will reach out to them tomorrow to see if we can start trying to put that together. I think.
By golly, we'll open the doors and everybody will have to bring their coats.
Yeah. And I will say this, that we've proven to be pretty nimble since this all, I got my call from Lynn Graves at 8:30 yesterday morning. We were able to turn this around pretty quickly, and I appreciate all of the members' willingness to be flexible. That was quite a curveball to be thrown at the last minute, and we just are thinking of the Graves family and their whole team up there at Graves Mountain Lodge. It's a wonderful facility, and I know that they are suffering like other businesses, and I hated to have to cancel, but they've been very gracious. And I told Lynn Graves, and Tom, you can help me with this, that what we've done for this year, we were going to meet in Fredericksburg in the spring. We were going to meet in Richmond County in the summer, and then we were going to be in Madison. We're just going to try that same thing for 2021 if we can do it, and kind of pick up where we left off starting next spring.
Yep, glad to help you.
Thank you, Tom.
Any identification of potential agenda items?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The technical committee at its last meeting had a presentation by Joseph Quisenberry, the town manager from Warsaw, on the very successful business district revitalization and stormwater improvement project. They cobbled together grant funds from a number of different sources and really created a multi-member partnership to carry out a very successful project that not only helped with revitalizing some areas of their downtown that were in need of revitalization, but some tremendous stormwater improvements that will have water quality positive impacts for years to come. And I think technical committee was quite impressed with the project. It was recommending that the commission hear from the town manager at our December meeting.
Yeah, they've done a lot there. This is going to be an exciting report to the commission. I made a note here of the stream gauge project. Do you know where we were, or how? I know that's been like one of the longest term things dragging around. So if we could probably circle around on where we are on that.
I will check with VDM, but if you'll remember at our last meeting, Dan Bradway, who is the project lead for VDM, said that they're under orders as long as they're under a declared emergency. They can't work on any projects other than the emergency related items. And so they've had to shelve this until we get past the declared emergency. They have been stayed in contact with with Homeland Security, which is the federal sponsor, and they are on board with understanding of the delay because they're dealing with their own issues. It is my understanding that VDM has received all of the equipment. So it's just a matter of once they can get back out in the field, we can start making something happen. I know we've had that line many times over the last 7 or 8 years because it's been one problem after another. But this one is truly being delayed by the pandemic.
Okay, thank you. Any other members have anything for the potential agenda? Well, if you can't give any ideas or anything, you can shoot those over to Eldon or myself and we'll try to arrange those. Anything for the good of the business today? Well, we kind of got through our agenda pretty quick. Everybody can get out and enjoy the last hour or so that we'd normally be touring around in Madison County to get some nice sunshine before the rain comes back tomorrow.
The only thing I will add, Mr. Chairman, is had we been at Graves Mountain Lodge today, David Massey was going to extend an invitation because when you're leaving Graves Mountain Lodge, you'll be driving right by one of the project areas, and they had planned to set it up so if the weather was going to be nice like it is today, people would be able to stop and take a tour. So maybe we can put that on the agenda for next September.
Hopefully we can make that happen. Hopefully things will be back to normal by then, or the new normal.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
thank you everybody for coming today. With that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good one.
Very much.
Thank you.
See y'all later.